Have you ever tried to figure out your purpose and all you heard was mental static? You sit there thinking harder and it somehow becomes noisier. That's the thing. Purpose doesn't just arrive in your head. It emerges as a signal you learn to tune into by paying attention to your energy, telling the truth, and running small, brave experiments in the real world. So tonight, I'm going to be teaching you all how to go from static to signal. So we need to start by lowering that static in your head by making more of the unconscious conscious. And I know it sounds a little hippie, but stay with me. The truth is, so much of what shapes our lives happens beneath the surface. Habits on autopilot, dreams we've buried. If we don't bring those forces into view, we're moving, but we're not actually in control. So how do you actually take that static and lower it? You meditate, but not like some perfectly serene monk, but to start noticing, to actually sit behind the wheel of your own mind and watch thoughts go by instead of being swept away by them. When you do that, something shifts. You stop being tangled in all the noise and you're able to start observing it. That little bit of distance gives you choice, and with choice comes clarity. I mean, you already trust this kind of distance everywhere else. Look at athletes. They rewatch themselves on film after playing because being in the action hides patterns that the film just makes obvious. And I don't know how many of you use budgeting apps, but every time I check mine in New York, I'm shocked at how much I've spent eating out. In the moment, it's like a quick cup of coffee, a slice of pizza, but when you zoom out and actually look at the numbers, the pattern jumps out. But distance alone isn't enough. You can start to bring down that noise, but if you can't tell what's true and what's not, the signal is still scrambled. Which brings me to my second point of telling the truth. I know some of you might have just flashed back to childhood lectures, and there's no trauma intended here, but this isn't about being a good kid. When your words and actions don't align with what you know inside, you introduce static into the signal. This is called cognitive dissonance, and it literally bends your reality. You start downplaying and justifying and editing the truth just to keep the story comfortable. But the more you do that, the fuzzier everything gets. So once you get that static lower, what kind of signal are you actually listening for? Most people wait for that lightning bolt sentence, "This is my purpose." That waiting keeps us stuck. Purpose doesn't just arrive as a paragraph, it shows as peaks in the signal. Instead, you should follow where your energy flows. Ask yourself, where do I feel alive? What gives me energy even when it's hard? What do I do that makes time disappear? Those aren't random moods. They're signal peaks. They're clear cues from the part of you that already knows. You don't need this whole blueprint. You need the next strong signal and then the next. But if your life feels like it's been on repeat, you won't discover the next strong signal by replaying old tracks. If nothing changes, nothing new becomes audible. But novelty, it lights up new pathways and helps you figure out what actually matters to you. You don't find those attributes by thinking, you find them by doing. You volunteer at a soup kitchen and realize the spark isn't the soup. It's coordinating people and smoothing logistics, maybe even building small systems that help out scale. You try an improv class and discover the charge is from teaching others and reading a room, not performing. Action turns up the volume on what matters. So once you have this signal kind of growing, how do you make sure you don't burn out or even just wait forever? You start really tiny, and then you let it compound. When fear shows up, shrink the action down until your body says, I can do that, and then repeat it until bravery becomes the baseline. That's the interesting thing. You don't really get over fear. You become braver. And bravery is built in reps. Everything meaningful can be broken down into something tiny enough to do today. I don't want you to get caught up with, this is so small, it will take literally forever, because tiny beats zero, and zero never compounds. Small, repeatable gains bend that curve so your actions aren't linear. They're actually exponential. Think compounding with money. A little interest today doesn't seem like much, but next month you're earning interest on your interest, and dimes become dollars, and dollars become hundreds. One outreach a day becomes a network. One honest conversation reshapes a relationship. The curve looks flat at first until suddenly it doesn't. Let the first step be embarrassingly small. The point is momentum and not magnificence. Now remember, while you're tuning, the quality of the listener, you, matters as much as the quality of the signal. So you gotta have some self-love. This isn't about fixing some broken person. This is about backing someone worth investing in. So treat yourself like you're someone you're responsible for. Swap criticism for curiosity, not what's wrong with me, what happened there? And how can I fix it next time? Compassion keeps you in the game long enough for that curve to bend, because when it gets tough, and it will, the inner critic gets so loud. Without self-love, friction feels like proof you should quit, but with it, friction becomes feedback, a cue to adjust and keep going. It keeps your identity intact. I'm someone worth backing. So repair fast, stay in the game, and let that curve bend. So finally, once that signal starts to come through, your job is to keep that channel clean. You do that by reading, to bring in new patterns you never spot on your own. New ideas give your mind fresh places for meaning to connect. Then write, to put what's inside on paper so all that vagueness becomes visible. When you can see it, you can literally do it. And then talk. To say it out loud to another human, even a voice note. Social and auditory circuits force clarity, and it turns abstractions into something you can act on. So when life feels static, don't wait for that perfect purpose statement. Lower the noise. Notice your thoughts. Tell the truth. Turn up the signal. Try new things. Follow your energy. Start tiny and let them compound. Purpose emerges in moments of aliveness, revealed by honest attention and strengthened by brave action. Tune a little today, a little tomorrow, and let that signal grow. Thank you, everyone.